Hey, hope you're good. So today we are talking how to invest in commodities. Obviously, to look at what are commodities, and then why you invest, what affects the price, ways to invest, and the pros and cons. Last but not least, how to start. So what are commodities? Commodities, we are talking about raw materials that we use every day. They're being brought, they're being sold or traded every day. That's when you're about gold. Gold, they'll sell gold so that they can make use of it and sell jewelry. They'll sell wheat to make bread. So your coffee beans, cows. You get what I'm saying? So it's all the raw materials that have been used every day, and then that can be traded and bought. And then that's what commodities are. So you might be asking yourself, what is the catch? Why should I invest in commodities? The value of commodities doesn't drop. The value of money drops. What makes the value of money drops? It's commodities. When the food prices goes up, the value of money goes down. It drops. When materials price goes up, the value of money drops. So you're talking about commodities. I'm talking about commodities. I'm talking about fuel. I'm talking about food. I'm talking about material. So if you wanna keep the value of something, I'll say go for commodities, because its value never drops. So when the value of currency drops, or when the stock market crashes, like let's talk about stock market, let's talk about shares a bit. When the stock market crashes, gold is always shining, will always shine. You've never seen a value of gold dropping. You always see gold pushing. And obviously, gold is not the only commodities, right? You've got your crops, you've got all the stuff that makes food. You get what I'm saying? So they never, like food will never lose value. And there's always a demand for food. And remember, the more the demand, the more the prices raises. So you're talking about supply and demand, right? If there's more demand and there's less supply, the value of commodities rises, right? And there's always high demand. So yeah, that's why you should invest in commodities. So what affects the price of commodities? Just like I mentioned previously, supply and demand, right? If there's high demand and low supply, the prices goes up. If there's low demand and high supply, obviously the price goes down, because obviously now you'll end up having rotten food and all that, right? So, and what causes all those supply and demand? So you've got political events, you've got wars. Just for example, the Ukraine, and if let's say for example Ukraine was supplying crops and then there's war in Ukraine, now there's a shortage, right? So now, which means now the value of crops is gonna go up, because of now the supply will be low. So maybe you're probably gonna have fewer countries supplying crops, right? And then let's talk about bad weather, right? And then you've got floods. So now you start having less supply around because of floods. You know what I'm saying? Like your natural disasters, your hurricane, your heavy rains, right? And also market manipulation, like the news forecast. You might say, okay, the prices of food is gonna go up, or the price of gold is gonna go up. Then what happens once people start seeing that the price of anything is gonna go up? What happens? They start buying. And then when the more they buy, what happens? Just like I said, the more they buy, now they causing the supply drops. When the supply drops, the price goes up. So that's what affects the price of commodities. There are a lot of ways to invest. There are a lot of ways to invest in commodities. You can do commodity stocks, you can do EFTs, you can do future contracts, you can do mutual funds, you can do physical commodities, and actual gold, actual coin, actual agricultural goods. But obviously you gotta look at the pros and cons. So the easy one to invest in is digital gold. It doesn't need storage, so the risk is less. You don't need storage, you don't need security, so it doesn't need that. So when you have digital gold, at least you're more safer, right? But now imagine invest in crops. You've got risks, you've got heavy rains, you've got floods. Sometimes there's no rain at all, shortage of water. So you gotta weigh your options and look at which one suits you. And yeah, I mean there's a lot of commodities that you can invest in. Like, you just have to look at what is that are you gonna need storage. Like, let's say you wanna buy cows, right? You wanna invest in you wanna buy several cows. That's a good investment. The value of it never drops. But now what happens that there's drought, there's no rain. What is that they're gonna eat? You get what I'm saying? You gotta weigh stuff like that. You don't really have to buy cows as in like buy cows physically. There's certain platform that you can buy cows, and you don't really have to keep them at home. They store those. They have storage. They have everything for you. But unfortunately, since it's something that is physical, I mean, if it happens that side that that they have stored those cows and they're feeding those cows, if there's no water, if there's drought, unfortunately that those cows might die. That's the risk. So you got to look at that in terms of if you're going to invest in those kind of things, what are your risks? So yeah, those are some of the ways that you can use to invest in commodities. I think, just like I mentioned, some of the pros and cons in some of my previous slides, I'm just gonna add on top of what I've said, but I'll just reiterate. Obviously, you're looking at prices going up. So when the price of food goes up, you're on the safe side, and there'll always be demand in terms of food. There'll always be demand. Most of the time it's less supply, and when it's less supply, which means now the more food prices goes up, you're in the safe side. And then obviously it will also depend on what kind of commodities are you looking for. Are you looking for stuff like gold, which it always goes up, and then are you looking at stuff like your farms, like your crops? Those are the stuff that makes food, obviously. So, and obviously they also have got their risks as well. So when you talk about the cons, you're talking about, obviously, just like I mentioned, you're talking about the floods. Sometimes you're talking about no rain at all. But after that, those stuff they will cause more demands, because like people will want food. So now when the food comes up, what happens? The price goes up. So you've got more pros than your cons, and only small disadvantage. Unfortunately, you're not gonna make passive income using commodities. You gotta buy it and then and sell it at a later stage. So it's more of a bit of patience, and then you get to buy something and sell it. You're not gonna get your dividends, just like your shares and stocks. You're not gonna get that. You have to buy something and then you get to sell it. So yeah. So to start, obviously you're gonna need a platform that you're going to invest in. Obviously the one that I normally use is equities. There are a couple that you can use. I think there's commodities in your banking apps. You can also buy them in there. The easy side as well, but they say it's livestockwealth.com. I'm gonna also leave it in the description. Just make sure that it's FSC registered. Whoever that you're gonna use to buy this or invest in commodities, just make sure that they're FSC regulated to be on the safe side. Yeah, there's a lot of platforms to invest in commodities. There's also IG South Africa. There is another one if you want to invest in livestock. Yeah, there's another site called livestockwealth.com. You can buy a cow. So I think here they say it's like 11,500, and then term is 6 months, and then after 6 months you can cash out. And there's farmland ownership. You can buy farmland ownership, and then there's terms in there. So you'll do your research, and obviously if you want to contact them, you can contact them. I'm gonna leave their links on my description. And I mean, I'm not saying use them, you can find your own. You get what I'm saying? So, and make sure that whatever you use, whether you're gonna use the ones that I've listed or the one that you're gonna research, just make sure that you are sure with it. It's FSCA regulated. So yeah, thank you for taking your time in watching this video. If you're new to this channel, please obviously don't forget to subscribe, and then please also don't forget to leave a comment if there is any clarity that is needed, or if you want me to talk about something that you feel like I did not cover. So in my next video, I'll be talking about real estate investment. Yeah, stay tuned. I'll be uploading the video soon.